Hi and welcome to Whisky Shared. You're watching my review of the single cask Summerton Whisky Club edition. I'm Toby and you're watching Whisky Shared. Welcome to my review of the single cask Summerton Club edition. This is the bottle for June 2020 and it's a single cask bottling of a Glen Ord. Glen Ord, I hear you say. Who are they? Well, they're probably not that well known. Glen Ord often goes into whiskey blends. It's a whiskey that's owned by Diageo, so it's one of the classic malts range. And this particular whiskey is a single cask bottled at 46%. Like all single cask whiskies from this brand, they are all unchill filtered and they're all uncoloured. It comes in what's called a decanter bottle. It has a nice embossed sort of metal logo. It has all the information you need on the front and it's a nice large square bottle. It's got a cork topper, a real cork top, and it's also got really thick glass base. It's quite an iconic bottle from the people at the single cask. This Glen Ord is a Highland Scotch whisky. It's just under 6 years old, but it is obviously a 5-year-old whisky. This particular whisky is, well, they're known for their long fermentation times, up to about 75 hours. And obviously they're doing that to try and add a different sort of character and flavour. The distillery itself opened in 1838 and has had many owners since until Diageo took over. Diageo used the Glen Ord distillery name under the Singleton brand, and there's several distilleries that they use that come under the Singleton brand. So, should we find out what it's like? Onto the whiskey. Right, so before I start nosing and tasting, I will mention that this is from the Summerton Club. I'm a paid member. They don't pay me anything to say anything nice about their bottles. I either like it or I don't like it. If you're interested in joining the Summerton Club, I'll put a link below so you can check them out, find out more about them. But let's get onto the colour. So it's quite light. It's been in a refill hogshead, I believe. So it's definitely been in a refill cask. So it's obviously not going to get the most influence from the wood to start with. But I'd say that's like a pale gold or even a pale straw. It's quite light. Let's try it on the nose. Right, so for me, there's lots going on. I can smell so many things in this. I instantly get toffee. Very creamy, like Werther's Originals. But I also get like a hint of vinegar. There's like a slightly sour note, but it's not unpleasant. There's a hint of smoke in the background there. Not sure where that comes from. It's a bit of alcohol vapour on the nose. It's attacking my nostrils ever so slightly, which is quite interesting for a 46% whiskey. Actually, I'm getting like stewed fruits, like apples or maybe cooked pears. Yeah, it's quite nice. There's also a sweetness like white chocolate. Like white chocolate. It's really creamy. And there's also like sort of charred oak note. Let's try it on the palate. Right, so instantly, it's incredibly light. The first time you put it in your mouth, it's like not much is happening at all. And then all of a sudden, it starts to get quite viscous, it starts to coat the mouth, it starts to thicken. And it's very sweet, but there's also like a hint of savoury in the background. Yeah, Really interesting. Let's see if more develops on second sip. Right, so that creamy toffee note that I picked up on the nose is starting to come on the palate. It's like, yeah, it's like a creamy toffee fudge. It's really nice. But I'm also getting a little bit of heat now on the tongue, and it's a really strong sweet note, which isn't the toffee. I'd say it's more like, yeah, it's more like a vanilla custard, but it's really quite strong, really nice. But behind all that, there's like a savoury note, and it's almost like a smokiness, maybe from like a sort of a charred oak sort of smoke, almost like, you know, barrel char. But yeah, that's sitting there in the background. It's really not bad. Let's have another sip. Yeah, that sweet turns to savoury, turns to a hint of smoke note. Reminds me of Craig Ellicky. It's that sort of character. I'm sure if I tried them side by side, there'd be nothing near, but it reminds me of that sort of note that I pick up on Craig Ellicky. But it's yeah, it's a really interesting whiskey, this. Plenty going on. Finish isn't bad either. I'd say it's short, it's not too dry. Say that, not too dry, but it is starting to develop now, that dryness. Yeah, it's increased a little. I'd say it's quite dry now, but not too bitter. And there's a little bit of pepper. But yeah, it's short, maybe push its medium in length. But I think this would have been interesting to try at cask strength, like you know, the mainstream single cask releases that you can go and buy. You know, it may not have been so light on the palate to start with, but you know, I think one of the reasons it may have been watered down for members is to, you know, increase the number of bottles, because the membership is increasing, you know, at quite a rate. Not every member this month got this bottle. There were that many members. I think it's one of 332 bottles, which is yeah, a decent amount of bottles, and obviously the watering down to 46% helps with that. I'm sure they didn't water it down to the sort of lowest possible. They could have taken it to 40%, it still would have been whiskey. So obviously 46% must have been a sweet spot, whilst still being enough bottles to go around. But yeah, I quite like this. I've never had a Glen Ord, probably wouldn't have gone out and bought one. Unlikely to have gone and bought one under the Singleton name. But as usual, it's, you know, a rare or a unique whiskey that Summerton Club has delivered, and yeah, it's definitely one I'll enjoy to drink. It's really quite nice, and I'm sure people I share it with will enjoy it too. So yeah, I quite like this one. Slauncher. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, why not give it a like or a comment, and please consider subscribing for more videos like this.